Welcome to Hokey Religion, the Star Wars podcast. This is Tyler.
This is Michael.
Michael, what are we talking about today?
Well, we got sabers, we got Rogue One, we got Luke's Jedi Temple, and no buttholes as far as I know at this point.
Good to know. Thank you.
Hokey Religion is an ancient weapon. Weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side.
At least, I think. I don't plan on talking about buttholes
Not
this
on
time.
the schedule, but sometimes they come up.
Sometimes, buttholes are just unavoidable.
I think we stabbed enough last episode. We can move on. There are none left.
Yeah, well. No, there's plenty left. That's not the point, though.
Anyways, let's not go on another 15
We're ignoring
minutes.
the buttholes that are still around and assaulting our minds.
Not sure what's happening on
is that
that
just
side
me?
of the table.
No, that's just me.
Just your
Okay.
mind's eye.
Your
Mind's
the one
brown
eye.
So
get it.
It was our anniversary last episode.
We didn't know.
Nope. We did not figure out until after we already recorded and released the episode that the night we recorded that episode was our 1 year anniversary from recording our first episode.
You figured it out on Twitter, didn't you? Or did you send me a message first?
I think I
Or
sent
at the
you a
same
message
time?
first. Probably both.
Something like that. Yeah, but we had no idea.
Yeah. No.
I can't believe
No
it's been a year of doing this.
I mean, it makes sense since this recording is episode 27. If we do it bi-weekly, then, half of 52 is, numbers, and then you carry the one, and
Yeah,
that's,
the numbers
that's enough episodes to make a year.
The numbers make sense. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
okay. All
I'm
right.
glad it does.
Good. Is that I don't know.
How do you
Someone
feel?
told me there were numbers.
How do you feel after doing it after a year?
The same as the first one.
It's the same here.
Like, I don't remember anything about Star Wars. The thing I love the most. We sit down and then I forget all of it, and we talk for an hour.
About things that we didn't really want to talk about when we
Nothing we
started
planned on
recording.
talking about. Yeah. So, happy anniversary, us.
Yay!
Thank you for everyone who has been here for most of a year, because I'm pretty sure no one listened to the first few episodes. So, good
Yeah,
on ya.
Probably.
Those two.
Anyone that's
Family and
still
friends.
around since the beginning, give us a shout out on. I don't care. I don't care.
We'll tell you all our deets at the end.
I don't care what you do.
So I have a problem.
You told me about this problem.
There's a
If it's
big problem.
Is it butthole related? Because we already said that we wouldn't go into that.
Not this time.
Okay.
So there was
No butthole trubs.
Yes, no yet. We'll circle back on that in about 45 minutes.
Oh, circle. I get it.
What?
Buttholes.
Sure. I don't know. So the Death Star, that's a thing. It's powerful. It destroys planets, right? Okay. So there was a conversation on Reddit, and people.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. That's your first problem.
That is the first problem.
Moving on.
Don't read the comments and do not engage. I ignored both of those things that I just said. So
Is this a
people-
post that you made on Reddit? or is this...
No. I just got involved.
Okay, so this
I hate
is...
myself.
Set the scene here, because I don't know how this happened.
There was a post on the Star Wars subreddit talking about the Death Star. Whatever.
Do you remember what specifically they were
because
talking about?
these comments had nothing to do with the main post. It just went.
all
It
right.
just went into
Okay.
the mud from there, as Reddit does.
Okay.
People got into a conversation that the Death Star. No, here's what I remember. What it was. It was that the Force Awakens is a carbon copy of A New Hope, which I don't agree with, and in some ways, yes, but I think it was necessary. But that's not the point. They were saying how there
Well,
was
wait, which one? You don't agree with it, or you think it was, but it was
I
necessary?
think the parts. There were some pieces that were a copy, but I think it was necessary for them to do that. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah, and I think I agree.
Yes. But anyways, someone says it's a carbon copy because there's a star destroying planet, or there's a star destroying weapon and everything else. And people were like, well, the Death Star is not a star destroying planet. And I said, wait, no, I will not sit by idly while you talk
And I
about
said, wait.
this.
No, you don't say those things.
Yeah. So they were arguing that the Death Star could not destroy a star, that it just destroys planets.
What now?
So they're saying the Death Star never cannot destroy a star because it didn't destroy a star. That was one of the main arguments, is that it didn't, so it can't, which, great, good old-fashioned brain power. So, I've never eaten shark. That means I literally cannot eat shark. It's impossible. My body would reject it. I would die. They were saying it can only destroy planets, that it cannot destroy a star. So I do not agree with that at all.
What was the point of the argument that it can't destroy a star immediately like it does a planet?
No, just at all.
At all,
At all.
period.
Yes, they were very adamant, and I got involved and argued with a few people and then eventually just turned it off and walked away.
So their point was it can't affect a star enough to cause it to go supernova. Is that basically?
That was my argument, is that it could, and they were saying no.
At all.
At all.
Completely.
They were saying it cannot destroy a star, it can only destroy a planet.
Who are these people?
Reddit losers.
Fans?
Never. So, here is my argument. There is math to this. So,
Which is your strong suit, we all know.
Oh, yeah. I looked up all this. So, if we are to believe that Alderaan is made of matter, and is
most planets
are. Yes, we can assume, because the people from there are made of matter, so we can assume the planet was as well.
Safe to assume.
It had the same temperament as Earth, and it's probably around the same size as Earth. It was actually, I think, a little bit bigger than Earth. And it destroyed it in one fell swoop. So, to destroy Earth in the same manner, you would need... so the energy needed to destroy Alderaan is 2.24 times 10 to the 32nd joules. That much energy would be required to destroy Alderaan.
Okay.
A white dwarf requires about 1 to 2 times 10 to the 44 joules to unbind the star into a supernova.
Okay.
Yes, that is about 1 billion times more. But stay with me here. Yes, I realize it's a lot more power to destroy a white dwarf. First off, there are varying sizes of stars.
Yes.
But there's also varying sizes of planets. So if we're saying it takes that much power to destroy an Earth-sized planet,
yes,
and the Death Star was created to destroy any planet, I would assume the Death Star was made to intimidate and destroy any planet that it needed to.
Yes.
Correct. All right.
And Alderaan was probably the perfect size for that kind of instant
a tiny one,
destruction.
nothing important there to destroy, other than just getting the attention.
I would assume.
But we would assume that the Death Star could destroy any planet it wanted to.
Yes.
And it was made to do that.
Eventually.
The original Death Star. I know the Death Star 2 was more powerful and bigger and probably could destroy even more stuff, but that's not the point. We're talking about the first one.
And could fire faster, so if it did encounter a bigger planet,
if we
it could
assume
destroy
that,
it faster.
we would assume that a planet of Jupiter's size or Neptune's size in our universe, it would be able to destroy that. Okay? There are planets in Star Wars universe that are like 10 times larger than Jupiter. There are giant, like, what is it? Yavin Prime is bigger than Neptune.
Okay.
So that is a giant-ass planet.
Yeah.
So we would assume if...
Do you remember how big Bespin was?
If our universe, Neptune, is 10 times bigger than Earth, we could assume that Yavin Prime is probably even bigger than, more than 10 times bigger than Alderaan. So... would it not have enough power to also destroy Yavin Prime or a planet larger? Because I believe there are planets bigger than Yavin Prime.
Well, the power for the Death Star is fixed, so yes, it may have enough power to do it.
Is it fixed, or do they just crank it to what they need it to for the planet?
I don't think... Well, I don't know. It depends on how they're storing the power they need to fire.
Anyway, so we would assume, though, that it could destroy a planet 10 or more times bigger than Alderaan. Which would possibly, if the planet is 10 times more, would it not require enough energy more to something that could supernova a white dwarf? So my argument is that obviously the Death Star was not made to destroy stars. I understand that. That is not its purpose. It would be a bad idea probably to try to destroy one, because there'd be a lot of issues. You couldn't be close, to be a lot of problems.
Well, first of
all, it was not made to destroy stars, but I don't care if it was made to do that or if it would be a bad idea to do it. I'm just saying it can, right?
Okay, wait. Yes. So, first of all, I agree with you, I think, for the most part. Let's take a step back here. There is a cruiser called a Star Destroyer that cannot destroy a star.
Well, yes. Okay. That's fine.
So the crux of their argument was because it's called the Death Star.
No, they're just saying because it didn't, it can't, was one argument. But at the same time, they were saying that...
But why did this come up? Just because it's called the Death Star?
Because they were saying the Death Star can't destroy stars. They were saying it can't. And I said, well, why are we not... Why aren't we assuming that the Death Star could destroy stars? They're like, well, it didn't, and it would have no effect on a star.
No effect. Yeah, see, that's what I don't agree
it would have
with.
no effect on a star. So... they were saying they wouldn't have enough power to affect a star. Even though it takes 1 billion times more power, more joules of energy to destroy a star, if it can destroy a planet more than 10 times larger than Alderaan, it would have enough power to at least
Well,
supernova a white dwarf, a tiny little ass star that could be destroyed. And there are stars smaller and of varying size. Maybe it can't destroy the biggest star, but it can destroy a star, right?
Well, see, that's where that's that point that I don't know, because it all depends on how powerful the Star Destroyer is. What kind of
Death Star.
Star? Yeah,
This is
whatever.
star in
The
general.
Death Star.
Yes.
Whatever.
So, I'm not saying it can destroy every star. I'm saying it can destroy a star.
yes, I know,
And
but
people
you're
everyone was arguing with me that no, it cannot destroy any star, any of them. None of
you're
them,
saying
anywhere,
the power level
wherever.
for the Death Star can vary enough to increase it to that billion more joules that it needs.
Maybe
to
it can't
destroy a
vary,
white dwarf.
but if it can destroy a planet as big or larger than Yavin Prime, it would have enough energy to
can it?
destroy a small
Can it,
star.
though? That's-
so that is the
that's the
next
question.
argument. Is okay. So are we assuming the Death Star cannot destroy any planet? Are we saying they made it weak enough that it could only make a demonstration on planets of that size or smaller, and not do whatever it wanted to?
Yeah, I would assume not, since it is a super weapon and it was developed. I mean, think about it though. Even if it couldn't destroy something as big as Yavin Prime immediately, it could break the crust. It could cause all kinds of crazy climate change that would
And
eventually
eventually
kill
it
the
would die.
planet.
Yes.
Maybe not explode it completely and incinerate it and
But I'm
disintegrate
just
it.
saying, I'm not saying it can destroy any star. I'm saying it can destroy a star. Not all stars are the same size, just as planets.
Yes, that is correct. It could
And if
destroy
we are
a
going
star.
to go along with the fact that TIE fighters will work in an atmosphere, why are we having an argument about the fact that a Death Star can't destroy whatever the hell it wants to?
when we
If
don't
you
even,
believe in TIE fighters, why don't you believe in the Death
when we
Star?
don't even know how powerful it really is. Yeah.
But why not believe? I mean, that's just a separate argument. One, I mean, this is all a science fiction film that we just like believe
this
is real.
This argument is completely based on just hope.
Well, there's two points to it. One, if it can destroy a planet 10 times bigger than Alderaan, then it has enough power to affect the smallest star. That is a star. It can destroy a star. Not any star, but a
Yeah,
star. Okay?
I agree
Yes.
with that.
So, at the same time, this is also a fake thing, and we go along with the fact that the Millennium Falcon came out of light speed about 2 miles above a planet's surface and lived through it. TIE fighters work in an atmosphere
Yeah,
when they never would.
I talked about
But
that.
we refuse to accept that the Death Star can destroy a star, just because, on principle, it didn't, so it can't.
Yeah. I mean, this is Reddit idiots you're arguing with here, so it's really there's no surprise.
Got me so worked up. They made me so angry that why would you doubt that it can do that?
They're just trolling you, right?
There's a lot of people. Okay, my comments were getting upvoted, so someone agrees with me. They just didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to get the downvotes. But why?
Who is it?
The Death Star can destroy any planet it wants, and if there's planets more than 10 times bigger than Alderaan, it has enough power to destroy the smallest star.
Yeah, I don't understand that argument.
That's Tyler's rant corner for this week. I'll have another one next time I get on Reddit.
Just don't get on Reddit. I mean, that's a
That was much longer of a rant than I planned for it to be, but it got me so worked up, and I can't imagine. Why lose hope in Star Wars for one thing? But the second thing,
That's what I'm saying. Your argument's completely based on just
assholes
have hope
just
for the-
arguing.
have hope for the universe that you're believing in, that you enjoy. I mean, why be so
Why
be so shitty about it?
There's two facts. There's one that the science I think is there, but two, just why not dream of a Death Star that can do whatever it wants?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think actual Star Wars stuff happened since our last episode, so I'm gonna drink some of this beer, and you can move on to the next topic.
We'll start with Rogue One, since that's coming up pretty soon. 100 days till the release.
99 as of today.
Yeah, last time I checked, which was probably a few days ago. One day ago, if it's 99
Yep,
today.
it's 99 as of recording.
Yeah, 99 days left. It's looking really good.
It's really close.
But we've got... so there was a story, I guess it was an interview with Gareth, where he was talking about the title of the movie and why it was named Rogue One. So I wanted to go in... He said something in that interview that kind of clicked in my brain or something.
Broke your face?
Yes. A little bit.
Okay.
Because he said... I'll get to it in a second. So let me go through the history of Rogue One in case not everybody is aware of that. Rogue One was the call sign for the leader of Rogue Squadron, also called Rogue Group, which was established after the Battle of Yavin, after the Death Star was destroyed, by the only two people who lived from Red Group. So there was a guy from Gold Squadron, I can't remember his name, the guy, one of the Y-Wings that survived, and then there was Luke and Wedge in Red Group.
Wedge was Rogue One, was he not?
No, Rogue One was or Red One you're talking about, right? Red Leader?
No, Wedge. I thought Wedge started Rogue Squadron. Did he not?
Well, it was a combination of Luke and Wedge. So they started together, and Luke was actually Rogue Leader until
Rogue One?
Post Hoth.
Okay.
So this is after the Battle of Yavin. Rogue Squadron was started. Wedge was, I'm not sure which rogue he was before Hoth, but Luke was always Rogue Leader.
Okay.
And was during the Battle of Hoth. And then Zev, the guy who found Han on Hoth, he was Rogue too.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what makes me wonder.
Or
I couldn't find him.
Zen.
Zin?
Right?
Zen. Oh yeah, you're right. Zen Sineska.
Zen.
I thought it was Zev. The guy who found Hoth, he was Rogue too.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what Wedge was, but anyway, those two started Rogue Squadron after Hoth. Luke took off to do Jedi training, and Wedge became Rogue Leader from that point and led that through to the second Death Star battle, the Battle of Endor, and he was Rogue Leader for that battle. And then there were a couple other people in there. I can't remember who they were now, but Wedge and Luke. I mean, Luke was obviously Red 5 during the Battle of Yavin, and Wedge was somebody else. Red 2.
Good. And Wedge was there. Whatever.
My point was he wasn't ever leader until after, which that kind of surprised me when I was thinking back about it.
Well, again, this is all legends at this point. Except for
the
call signs that were mentioned in the film.
Yeah, but I mean that's most of this,
I guess.
Because I mean I've got the members of Red Squadron listed here, and that was all.
Well, the founding of Rogue Squadron is not would be considered
maybe
a legend at this point.
Is Rogue
but
Squadron,
the call signs are used.
That's a good point. Is Rogue Squadron mentioned in the movies? It's mentioned in Jedi, right?
On Hoth, though, are there call signs mentioned while they're?
Well, no, fighting? Because Zen says this is Rogue 2.
Yeah, so I mean,
and
they are the Rogue Squadron, but the founding of which and Wedge and Luke's involvement.
I guess
can't
that's
imagine
legends.
them changing it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is at this point it's just so
I would assume
ingrained.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you consider something like that ingrained and not something like Jason and Jaina? Or,
well,
I don't know. I'm trying to think of another.
I think it's less important. Whereas, like Jason and Jaina, like you would have to build everything around that.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas Rogue Squadron and the starting of it, you can.
But this just makes sense.
Tweak things.
I mean, why not still have it the same way? Anyway,
it doesn't really.
So that's where Rogue Group got started, and then the call sign Rogue One. That's where that kind of came from. So Gareth in his interview mentioned that I think he gave 3 motivations for the title, 3 separate ones that didn't really make sense. They weren't really tied together. But one of them was that it was a military call sign. So that got me thinking, first of all, why, if you have that in your mind already, why not connect that to Rogue Squadron, since you've already got that Rogue One call sign?
Yeah. So is the team in Rogue One called Rogue One?
That's what I don't know. I don't think so.
Or is like Jyn Rogue One?
This is one of the things that I was wondering about. I mean, does Rogue Squadron?
Are they created based off of this? Like, is this the first? Rogue
is this
Squadron?
where all the pilots meet? Is in Rogue One? Like, you would assume that these pilots.
Well, I mean, I guess that's what we'll find out. Is like if they are Rogue Squadron and Jyn is Rogue One, then the starting of Rogue Squadron was
that an honor to
founded and based completely different than Legends?
Because that would no, I was thinking, well, maybe that this group of people isn't the Rogue Group.
Yeah,
maybe they're not called that, but maybe the founding of Rogue Squadron was kind of an homage to this group of people who stole the plans for the original Death Star.
Maybe.
which is how that group got founded, was the two survivors of that battle, right?
Yeah.
That destroyed the Death Star. So that's one thing I'm thinking. And then the second thing was all these pilots like Zen, like Dak, like
Wedge, I mean.
Yeah, Wedge. They have to be around during Rogue One, right?
Yeah.
So maybe
We
do they all
could-
meet? That's what I'm wondering is
So the most important thing to take away from this is we could have Porkins back.
yeah, sure. That's the most important thing.
That's what I'm taking away from this is that Porkins could return.
Let's see, who was he? He was
Rogue
Red.
7, right?
No,
or
he was
Rogue
Red
6.
Red 6.
Or Red 6.
Yeah.
So I feel like they missed an opportunity with him not being Red 8.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm sorry.
Good job. I learned that Biggs was Red 3 for the first time.
Oh, wow.
I went and looked up all the members of Red Squadron. Yeah, Wedge wasn't I guess Wedge would have been kind of a
He would have been around.
well, it's established in canon now that he was from an Imperial pilot, and then
Yeah.
he defected, right?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people like that. We have some people in Rogue One who were flying for, well, they were like contractors, but
For the Empire.
Yeah.
Like, what's her name? Like Jin.
not
Well, no,
Jen,
not
the,
contractor.
The guy, the other main guy,
The he dead guy or the captain?
the guy that plays opposite of Jen in like all the trailers.
The captain. I forget his name.
Cassius Andor.
Is that Gladiator?
Cassian?
Cassius Endor?
Is it Cassius?
Cassian.
Cassian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Star Wars podcast where we don't remember
Give us a few
anything about Star
minutes.
Wars. Cassian, he
We
was
remember
a pilot.
things from 20 years ago, but not.
Just our childhood. He was a contractor, like a contracted pilot for the Empire, which he had like the jacket, he has the patch, you know.
That's right. He flew cargo flights
Yes.
for them. That's right. We
And,
found out about that.
I mean-
no. It was no. It wasn't him. It was
it
the
not
other
him?
dude. It was the bulgy eye guy, the guy from Nightcrawler. that's the only way I remember.
That's
What's his name?
so endearing.
You remember his name?
I know exactly who you're talking about, but I can't remember his name at all right now.
What's his name?
This is our new segment called "What's His Name."
What's his name?
What's his name? Not Diego Luna, because
What's
he's
his name?
Cassian. Riz Ahmed.
What's his name?
Riz
Yes.
Ahmed.
Yeah, him. That was the guy who was the Imperial pilot, right? Because he flew cargo flights for the Empire.
Sure.
Anyway, doesn't
getting all of our-
doesn't really matter.
We're getting all
What
of
was
our
I talking
facts
about?
mixed up.
Why are we talking about this? What was I talking
Rogue
about?
Squadron.
Yes. Why did we get onto the cargo? The contract
That Wedge
deal.
was a pilot for
Oh, right.
the Empire.
Was it established in Rebels that he defected? Was that in Rebels?
I can't remember. I think
I can't remember if it was Rebels or a book. Now that was mentioned.
I'm not sure. The only books I haven't read are Lords of the Sith and the Heir to the Jedi, the Luke one.
Well, there was the Kanan one.
Oh yeah,
Kanan and what's
I
his
don't-
face?
I don't care. About
Ezra.
him. I don't care about him.
Or no, was it just Kanan?
It was a Kanan book.
I think I read the first page of that book and then gave up.
I don't
really care about that dude.
I don't find his character interesting.
I already said a couple episodes ago that I don't like Ezra, and I am not really a fan of Kanan either.
I mean, it'll be interesting what happens with Ezra in season 3 of Rebels. Now
Yes,
that
which
he's-
is something we need to talk about.
It's
eventually.
getting darker, and it'll be interesting what happens with him and Maul.
Yes. So anyway, yeah, my main takeaway from that was: Gareth mentioned this military call sign thing.
Yeah.
Is there any connection between Rogue Group, the existing Rogue Group that you would think would still be around and in canon and all that junk?
It would be interesting if by the end of the movie, like, they are Rogue Squadron or something in a battle, or if there is a Rogue Squadron.
Maybe they show the pilots that eventually make Rogue Squadron, like they show Wedge, or
That'd be really cool.
yeah, or some of these other guys.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
But yeah. So next deal.
There's some more Rogue One stuff. While we're on the topic of
What?
it,
What?
might as well talk
What
about
is-
it real quick.
So
There's a novel coming out.
There's other stuff.
We've got time.
We're running out of time.
They're already.
You
here.
ran it too
Where
long.
are they gonna go?
You talked too long about the Death Star.
Sorry, I apologize. I'll go quickly. Rogue One Catalyst is a book novel coming out next year. I believe it's February.
This looks really good.
I forget when it comes out, honestly. It's next year.
It doesn't matter when it comes out.
Anyways.
The synopsis looks really cool.
The synopsis is interesting, and it ties together stuff that we already assumed about some of these characters.
Do you want to summarize it?
Here's the synopsis. I'll just read it straight through.
It's super long.
I'll be fast. War is tearing the galaxy apart. For years, the Republic and the Separatists have battled across the stars, each building more and more deadly technology in an attempt to win the war. As a member of Chancellor Palpatine's top-secret Death Star project, Orson Krennic is determined to develop a superweapon before their enemies can. And an old friend of Krennic's, the brilliant scientist Galen Erso, could be the key. Galen's energy-focused research has captured the attention of both Krennic and his foes, making the scientist a crucial pawn in the galactic conflict. But after Krennic rescues Galen, his wife, Lyra, and their young daughter, Jyn, from Separatist kidnappers, the Erso family is deeply in Krennic's debt. Krennic then offers Galen an extraordinary opportunity to continue his scientific studies with every resource put utterly at his disposal. While Galen and Lyra believe that his energy research will be used purely in altruistic ways, Krennic has other plans that will finally make the Death Star a reality. Trapped in their benefactor's tightened grasp, the Ersos must untangle Krennic's web of deception to save themselves from the galaxy itself. Thank you for the backing track. So that's exactly what we were saying. So
the main point
Galen Erso is making the weapon for the Death Star, but it's not known to him in the beginning that he's making the weapon for the Death Star.
The main point being there's this relationship.
Everyone knows everyone.
Yeah, there's this relationship that's going to be explored between Galen and Orson.
Well, even
how Orson.
Jyn, I mean,
it's
their young daughter. I don't know how young she's going to be, but
Galen
she knows
and
who
his
Krennic
family.
Is.
Yeah. Which means Orson knows her.
Yeah.
And is going to have this connection with her. I'm not sure how much it's going to be explored in the movie, but
yeah,
there's some kind of familiarity there.
The fact that Galen warned them of the Death Star weapon test. I mean, he was working on the weapons for it, and assuming that he's using kyber crystals to make this energy-focused research thing a reality. It ties together everything that we've been assuming, but we're going to get this story. Not far from the film. It
kind of explains. Hopefully, they get into this in the movie.
Oh,
but
crap! It comes out in November. It comes out before the movie. That's right.
Ooh, sweet.
November 15th. So we've got 2 books coming up really, really quickly. Ahsoka comes out in October, and then this.
It's not gonna.
Rogue One Catalyst comes out in November.
I hope it's not full of spoilers.
It's gonna be like a prequel to the film, like setting up some stuff with the relationships.
What I was going to say was I hope the movie explores that relationship more, because maybe that's why Jyn decides to do this. Decides to sign up with the group because she has some kind of grudge against Orson because of him forcing, because the book there's
more reasons than just being hired to do it. Her father's probably
Galen was forced
trapped.
Yeah,
He's probably basically at this point in prison.
Into this. And his family probably suffered.
His wife's probably dead.
Maybe
he said he wouldn't help anymore, or they have his wife in,
It sounded like from the synopsis that things started out good for them.
Well, they were friends.
Yeah.
Previous to, I guess, the Empire,
but he was still
Krennic's involvement,
like a pawn in this the Emperor's grander scheme.
Who, Krennic or Orson?
Orson.
Well, yeah,
Galen.
Galen. Promised, saved his family and
he
helped him out and gave him any resource he needed to continue
during
his
the
research.
Clone Wars, which is really cool. There's going to be a connection to the prequels.
So he's gave him everything he needed to continue his research, not knowing that research was going to be used to power the star-destroying Death Star.
But I can imagine that once he found out, maybe there was some kind of protest and then he was silenced, maybe killed. I assume he's not around anymore.
Well, if he warns them of the weapons test, unless he's dead by then. And we only see him in flashbacks.
I'm not sure. Do you think he's dead by Rogue One? I think he is.
He could die at some point during.
I think he's
Or it'll
dead.
be like an Anakin and Shmi situation where she finds him and he's like, and then he's dead. And then she slaughters him like animals.
I think he's dead because she seems very calloused. At least in the little bit that we've seen her in the trailers.
Could be.
So maybe she's got a grudge against the Empire.
Yeah, that'd be.
I mean, they pick her up for and then they list her rap sheet, which includes a bunch of crap that she did against the Empire.
Breaking into stuff and like hacking things and
Was that rap sheet
stealing
against the
stuff.
Empire or against the Rebels? I
there
can't
was
remember
some
now.
Probably mainly the Empire, because it's not like the rebels had like any control to try to
Well, yeah, I don't
do
know.
anything with.
I don't know. I don't know how they have the authority to arrest somebody anyway. They're just a terrorist group.
Hi, I'm with my friends, and we're here to arrest you. Okay,
Just please come with us. Don't ask any questions.
we've got snacks.
Snacks. So anyway, that looks
Rebel
good.
snacks.
That looks good.
Yeah. So that's Rogue One, episode 8.
Episode 8. What do you want to talk about? Lightsabers? Or do you want to save that?
Oh, well, we'll get into lightsabers.
All right.
I think
Episode 8.
That's an important thing coming up.
Episode
The
8.
rumors
Let's talk about...
Luke's Jedi Temple.
Yeah. Luke has a Jedi temple.
We would assume.
Well, it's been confirmed in Force Awakens, right? That he was training people.
Or trying to, yeah.
He tried to.
And we know he was at least trying to train.
It was in the books too, right?
He was at least
It was
trying
in
to train
Bloodlines.
Ben, because he took Ben off to God knows where, and Leia didn't even know where they were.
Yeah.
We still don't have any explanation of that,
Yeah.
and probably won't forever.
Forever.
So there are rumors that we'll get more of Rey's vision from episode 7, but
Yeah.
like maybe she'll have another flashback, because it seemed to be that the rumor was from someone that apparently is involved in the filmmaking that there's another scene with Luke and even some younger children that had lightsaber props,
Yep.
blade handles, and Rey was just kind of standing around while stuff happened around her. So it's assumed that that was more of a flashback or another vision she was having, since she wasn't really interacting with anyone.
But I think, yeah, so Rey is there, but we also have this report says Mark Hamill's there. Adam Driver is there.
And some children.
R2 is there.
Yeah.
And children are there. So Adam Driver being there means that this happened when Kylo was... Like, this happened fairly close to Force Awakens.
Possibly, or it's a
Right?
shared vision. Luke's showing them something. I don't know. Because there's that rumor of them having like a conversation on the island before, like,
So what, Luke
Shit
just
hits the
touches
fan.
both their foreheads and mind melds and creates his vision in both their heads?
yeah, sure.
No, I don't think
It's
so.
a PowerPoint presentation. He's got a laser pointer. On this next slide, you'll see when this man killed all of these children.
You'll see the blood rates rose significantly.
So yeah, there's some more flashbacks.
Blood
Supposedly,
rates.
supposedly there's gonna be more of the scene where Luke touches
What's
R2, which is kind of like the saying goodbye to the temple. There were lightsaber hilts props that were made for children.
Yeah.
There were dead bodies of children, not real ones, but obviously props, I would hope. And then, yeah, just some more of... There's some sort of either flashback or vision of Luke's temple and the destruction of it.
Right. Which, if this is true, that is... I would hope that means we're going to get in more into the history of what Luke was up to, where he took Ben.
Which is what he was up to. Stop.
Yeah, it's...
I mean,
I would assume, yeah.
Because, all we have is...
that's everything.
Only other references to Luke we have are, what, Bloodlines?
There was
And
Bloodlines.
he
There was
gone.
that Shadows of the Empire. What was that?
Definitely not that.
What was that comic? Shattered Empire.
Shattered Empire.
See, it was it's not that
It
far.
was this close.
I love China. They're great. I keep saying that in my head. I don't know.
Thank you.
Anyway, yeah, we've got him. He appeared briefly at the end of Shattered Empire, that comic series. He's mentioned in Bloodlines that he's off doing who knows what. There's... I'm trying to think of post for
Neither of us have finished. Neither of us have finished.
Life.
Well, you haven't finished any books ever written. I haven't finished Life Dead. I'm halfway through.
I've finished
swear.
plenty of books. The Aftermath series is the only series of books that I will not read, because at this point, I
You don't care.
don't care.
They're really good.
Yeah, it's just a principle now.
It's just you've made your stand and now you have to stick with it.
Yeah.
I haven't finished Life Debt, so if he's mentioned at any point, I don't know. So I apologize. Life is stuff. One day I'll read
Life
it.
is stuff.
You heard it here first. Hokey Religion
Says
life is stuff.
life is stuff.
Enjoy.
So deal with your stuff.
Deal with your life stuff.
Um,
So hopefully we'll get. I mean, obviously that is the hope of everyone that we'll get anything on
what
Luke and his
other
backstory.
post Jedi? Whoops. What other post Jedi? It's my guitar. I'm strumming my guitar
Okay,
while
thank
I'm
you.
recording.
I
you know.
enjoy your songs.
It's very out of tune. I have a giant.
Jedi.
I have a giant like double neck
one
12-string
one
guitar
string.
that I strum at random points.
Thank you.
What other post Jedi stuff do we have of Luke that we know of? Forget Life Debt because we don't know about that. Everyone else does, but we don't.
Yeah, sure.
We got the Shattered Empire series. We've got Bloodlines. He's mentioned in there.
Yeah.
We've got. He wasn't in the first Aftermath, right?
No real mention
mentioned.
of him.
Heir to the Jedi was before.
I mean, Bloodlines is like the most I think that he was mentioned in anything, and all that really was is that he was off somewhere
yeah.
with Ben.
I'm trying to think of. There's got to be some other stuff, right? We don't really have a lot of
We have
post Force Awakens stuff.
like, zero. Yeah.
It's still being created.
I mean, obviously, I think the point with this is that obviously we're
sorry,
hoping
post-
to get stories of
Between Force Awakens and Jedi, we don't have a ton of.
Yes. I
It's
think
starting to
our
fill
main
in a
point
little
with
bit.
this is that we're all hoping that we get some backstory on Luke and what he's been up to, and it seems like the rumors are that is going to happen. So just there is hope that we are going to get something of what happened with his Jedi
Yeah,
Academy, Temple, Kylo Ren story.
Right.
Like we're not gonna just wait until 9 to find out any of that.
That would be. I couldn't deal with that.
They're not gonna. I mean, they can't do that to us because they had to do so much setup with 7. I think we're finally going to get like real information now with 8.
Yeah.
Not that I mean, if you really think about it, in 7 there wasn't a lot of filling in of information and holes.
Very.
There's a lot of introduction.
Yes, but there was filling in of holes.
That was the one with the 3 X's after the title.
It's filling of holes.
Yeah.
Is that the Holes movie?
That's
Do you remember that movie? Holes.
with LaBeouf.
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, I remember that holes movie. Not the one with the
Not the one we're talking about.
those holes.
Anyway, I was telling you this the other day. I think when Force Awakens was being written, I think JJ and maybe
Oh yeah.
maybe Michael Arndt and Lawrence Kasdan had.
No idea.
Well, I think maybe they had very, very basic ideas
Bullet
of
points.
yeah,
Just
of,
like story points. Like this needs to happen. Just get to it somehow.
right, exactly. Like they don't know what's happening in between. They don't know certain details about, like, say, Luke's temple or where even like the trilogy is headed. I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I would see them as just like you said, setting up this.
I think
Doing all this setup and then passing the baton to the other. directors.
Kasdan would have more idea of that because he's very involved in the overall story.
I think with 8, I think he's just now thinking about that stuff because Force Awakens seems like
I don't know.
like the idea of Snoke. We don't know.
Well, I don't think they had to know that stuff when they made 7, and they probably didn't have the time to come up with all of that. But between 7 and 8, I think obviously JJ may have not been involved at all, but I think Kasdan and the other writers had the time now to work that all out. Like they knew where they wanted it to go. They just didn't. When 7 was, like you said, when 7 was made, they hadn't figured it all out yet. They just knew where they wanted it to end up.
Yeah.
And they've had the time probably now to at least work through most of the end of the story, or at least fill in a lot of what the plot lines are.
Right.
But I agree with 7.
that's
It was
my
probably
point.
more of, okay, we know we want Snoke to exist, and we know we want like this to be a story point for him, and this to be a story point for him, but we probably don't really have too much of a backstory, at least the full thing written out.
on the level of like we know we need a new bad guy. We know we need
Yeah.
some kind of tension with Luke or like, you know, something left unresolved there that we need to follow up on.
But
Blah,
at the
blah,
same
blah, blah.
time, if you think about it, for all of these novels to have been written involving Leia and involving Ben, like those would have had to been worked on for a while now for someone to write these full novels. So the idea of Ben and some of what his story had to exist in some form.
Yeah.
And obviously that would go through the story group at Lucas, at Lucasfilm.
I just think that was, well, I don't know. When did Bloodlines come out? That was just a few months after Force Awakens, right?
The Bloodlines was this last...
Was it April?
Was it March or April, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, there is a story group at Lucasfilm that's involved with Star Wars. There's a Star Wars story group. There's people that were on a stage at Celebration.
Well, yeah, so maybe JJ
so
just
some of
took...
them had at least the points that are important plot points, and it's like, obviously let us look through your novel and your story points and make sure nothing conflicts with these main character points.
Yeah.
And as long as it doesn't affect that, it's probably okay.
That's what I was going to say. I think the main bullet points got communicated, and then they started to fill in the universe a little bit.
The story group?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
And I mean,
so all that
a lot
to
of
say,
people don't like JJ and the way he seems to be brought in to revitalize genres and films and series, and
that seems to be the trend.
Like people are like, oh, the first Star Trek is just a carbon copy of the old Star Trek, and the new Star Wars is just a carbon copy of the old Star Wars.
Wait, what? No, it's not.
People say
Star Trek?
They said Star Trek is just like remade it, and it was not an original story at all. He just remade Star Trek and put a bunch of lens flares in it.
I would say he completely blew up Star Trek.
Well, that's a different thing. I love JJ, and I mean, this was mentioned.
Do we get to talk about Star Trek now?
No.
Is this finally?
Nope. Today is
finally get to talk about Star Trek?
is the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. Happy birthday!
It's our anniversary too.
This
is a meeting of minds. This is a sign.
The podcast has changed.
This is a sign that in the however many minutes we have left here, we need to talk about Star Trek.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Star Trek exists.
See,
let's move on.
I mean, it doesn't matter, but I think, like you said, those plot points existed and probably weren't written fully, but they're finally going to be filling them in now with 8. Because they didn't really need to have all those details because they knew they didn't need them for 7 because they had to do so much introduction that they knew it didn't really matter at that point.
That's my point. Well, I don't know. It does matter in a sense.
Well, it doesn't matter to the film. I mean, it matters in large, but they knew like, okay, we don't even have to focus on that right now because these are our points that we need to get across in this film. And let's get to that so that we can write out everything else in a fuller statement.
My point was all these questions that were... that all of us had going into Force Awakens, they don't necessarily even know the answers to those questions, at least when it was first released. And I think those questions are just now starting to get figured out and answered
probably
with 8 and then eventually 9.
Yeah.
And then all the, junk in between. So
let's talk about lightsabers.
Do you want to talk about...
I want to talk about lightsabers. I really liked it. We had this conversation this week about lightsabers.
Do I talk about Mark Hamill's beard?
Screw his beard. I want to talk about lightsabers. That's way more important than the story-breaking Mark Hamill shaved his beard. Oh my gosh, he's going to be dead or alive and in a movie at some point. Oh
my gosh, he's either going to die or live. What's going to happen?
He said his beard's going to be back in 9, so that means he's going to be back in... He only said his beard would be back in 9. He never said that he would. He said his beard would. So it's possible maybe he shaved it off and his beard will just exist in the film and he won't.
I agree with that.
Okay,
let's talk about lightsabers.
Lightsabers are more important than Mark Hamill shaving his freaking beard.
So this... I sent you a message the other day that kind of started this conversation. I was at somewhere, toy store somewhere, for reasons that we don't need to get into right now. I was in a toy store alone.
Looking for giant teddy bears.
Looking for children to ask questions. We don't need to understand the reasoning. Anyway, I noticed in happenstance...
Yes.
That,
Anakin.
Shit, I lost my train of thought. I got thinking about kids, and I lost my train of thought.
I went around, I was in Toys R Us, and I had my Jared from Subway pants, and I was like, how many of you can fit in here? Anyways.
Don't go get your parents. They're just going to complicate things.
They can't fit in my pants.
This will only take a few minutes. I don't want them in my pants even if they wanted to. So just don't bother them. They're busy. I could get this over with in a few minutes. We'll all be out of here. It'll all be good. Let's just move on.
So then I bailed Michael out of jail, and he brought up this thing about lightsabers.
What was I saying? What was my point?
Anakin's lightsaber.
Yes.
Ignition sound.
Yeah, I completely lost my train of thought. Just take this over.
The same.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. There's only one word left. So, I noticed that Anakin's saber, his original saber that got passed on to Luke by Obi-Wan, has the same ignition sound as Vader's lightsaber. So that got me thinking. Does Anakin have... Well, I guess this is a known thing. Each person has their own style of constructing lightsabers.
Construction, fighting style, and I think even...
Yes.
I mean... There's been instances of this before where lightsabers have had the same ignition sound as people who have different lightsabers again, like it'll have the same sound like when they make another one. Has it not existed before that there was another character that
had two lightsabers?
When they made another lightsaber, it made the same ignition sound. I'm trying to think. Maybe confusing it.
I'm trying to think.
Maybe I'm just confusing it with this conversation we're having right now.
Actually,
Anyways,
no,
Anakin's lightsaber and Vader's lightsaber have the same...
Anakin actually had a saber before the one that got passed to Luke. Remember? Because in Clone Wars, it got destroyed.
It got broken, yeah. Got smashed by a
that one
robot
had the same
machine.
That one had the same ignition sound too, right?
I would assume.
I don't even know what that hilt looks like.
That's a great question.
Huh.
No one's watched that movie more than once to care.
That's buried in the prequels. And to be forgotten forever. And it'll never be found. And we're fine with that. Let's move on.
So it's interesting that his lightsabers always have the same ignition
sound. His build style carried over to the next saber that he built as Vader, right? So that we were just talking about that, and then that got you thinking about Kylo's lightsaber.
Yes.
Ben's.
So I never really considered this. So if Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, was in training with Luke, he would have had a Jedi lightsaber that was not this,
right?
This broadsword with the Quillions, lightsaber.
Maybe like a youngling size hilt, I would imagine.
If he was up into his teens, he would have had a full size lightsaber.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
So, first off,
well, the point being that
there probably exists a Ben Solo lightsaber. Somewhere.
Maybe.
Kind of like, Luke.
Maybe.
There was lightsabers and, there was lightsabers passed on.
Yeah.
So I would assume there's a Jedi Kylo Ren or Jedi Ben Solo lightsaber that exists. I never really considered that before, unless he destroyed it in a fit.
Or maybe Luke never allowed him to build a saber?
Maybe he was just never good and never got a lightsaber.
The point being that he learned how to build a saber while he was being trained, obviously.
So the assumption is we know that his broadsword lightsaber, it is an ancient design.
Yeah.
I wonder if he found that on his own, if he found it through Snoke somehow, or Snoke suggested it. But at the same time,
was it an ancient Sith design or just an ancient?
It says it's an ancient design.
Okay, all right.
Obviously, because we don't have lightsabers that have those. I wonder if he chose that design because he had to, because of the cracked crystal he uses, because of the power.
That was. Issue. Well, yeah. So I know where you're going with this. There's a second part to that, right?
Yes, but also that cracked crystal. Is that crystal Darth Vader's lightsaber's crystal?
Right.
That's in Life Debt, there is more stuff with Darth Vader's lightsaber.
Well, you had another point to that too about the
Yes, at the same time. So there's a couple options here. Did he have to have that design because of the cracked crystal and the unwieldy power of using a cracked crystal?
Right.
And he needed the vents.
Right. Also,
his grandfather and his uncle both had a hand chopped off.
Yes.
So did he choose a design with cross guards so to protect his hands from getting chopped off? I never considered it before, but that makes perfect freaking sense.
I really like this theory.
Right? He's like, oh shit. So, Grandpappy and Unky Luke lost a hand. And I mean, I'm going dark, but I don't want to lose a hand.
Grandpappy lost both his hands, actually.
Well, Grandpappy lost a lot. So if I'm going dark and I need to build a new one, and everyone's losing their hands, maybe I need to get cross guards. No, I mean, I don't,
Actually, wait, no, he didn't lose both his hands, did he?
he lost an arm and 2 legs.
I'm thinking of Mace Windu. Which Anakin witnessed. So maybe he told that story?
Everyone's losing hands. He hates these hands. No, I mean, obviously,
Or
maybe
not that he told
it,
the story, but maybe Ben found out.
Maybe he needs it because of the cracked crystal, and he was like, what can I need to use Darth Vader's crystal because I'm such a fanboy and I have to use it for my lightsaber.
Yeah.
And, Darth Vader. And so he found an ancient design that would support a cracked crystal. Or was the choice of using cross guards, or I think they're called quillions, was the choice because of, crap, everyone in my family has been losing hands from lightsaber battles. Maybe I should protect against that as well.
Yeah. I like that theory better than the answer that I know is the right answer.
The cracked crystal?
Yeah, because JJ has already hinted at that it was Vader's crystal, right? Didn't he?
It's not been confirmed, I don't think, anywhere.
Oh no, sorry. That he's hinted that the cross guards were there because the crystal that's being used
to vent
was
the
cracked.
unwieldy power of using a
Yes.
cracked crystal. We know it's a cracked crystal, and we know it's an old design. Maybe
But
he had to
again-
find a design to use the crystal. I'm assuming that crystal is Darth Vader's at this point, right? It can't not be. Why would you use a cracked crystal unless there's the crystal deposits are empty and we have none. We have a crappy one. Here you go.
Well, but yeah, your point before was that he has learned to build a lightsaber. He knows how to, we assume, build a lightsaber correctly and neatly.
Not using a
and
crappy crystal and have it all
have it all work
physically.
and be great. We assume.
We would assume.
So why would he build a crappy lightsaber on purpose? So unless it contained a very important piece of Vader, like his
And
saber crystal.
again, in Life Debt, I'm not finished with it, but there is another part with the Acolytes of the Beyond and Darth Vader's lightsaber. So it's still being brought up. So I'm assuming we're going to find out what happens with that lightsaber, and I'm assuming that crystal will eventually become the cracked one that Kylo Ren is using.
I imagine, yeah.
I assume.
But
I just like the double thought of there actually being a reason for it past using a cracked crystal, but also this is a problem in my family. I'll fix it. Like his one good idea of going to the dark side. Between hissy fits, he decided to make
It's a very
good
practical, solution to that.
I don't want to. Oh, but my lightsaber, if I had the things, and my hands wouldn't fall off, huh?
Wow. I'm impressed, man. What is this? Clarity of thought?
Snoke's like, finally. He's got it.
It's all coming together. I think when JJ, I don't know, my theory when JJ said that thing about the cross guards being a way for the energy to vent, is that he didn't know.
He may have not known. Yes, that's true.
Whether
And
it was Vader's crystal or
it was just a cool
why
design.
it was
He
cracked.
like,
or,
yeah.
exactly.
Obviously, they're explaining around it, and we're explaining around it. But I think that would be a cool reason.
But that is Star Wars, just explaining around things that have been established already.
yeah,
Right?
this is our job. So I mean, it would be cool if it was an actual choice as to use that because of hands being lost, and not just I need to vent the power because I have to use this crystal because it's my grandfather's and he's the best thing ever. But that also got me thinking, if that is Darth Vader's crystal, he's never going to make another lightsaber, right? He's going to use that until the saber blows up in his hands and blows his hands off, which would be even more.
You're talking about Kylo?
Yeah,
would
that
use
would be
it?
the ultimate irony: is his lightsaber explodes from a cracked crystal, and then both of his hands are gone.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, the cross guards didn't know. Just as he's staring at his nubs. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, does a crystal, is that...
I was just thinking as well. So he made a
It's
crappy
used to
lightsaber.
focus energy, not necessarily an energy source. So can it really explode?
there is an energy cell in the lightsaber hilts.
Right, that's the actual
Focus
power.
But it focuses the energy. But there's also some power in those crystals. I think
I think there's a force connection.
maybe just that. But so my thought is, do you think he's going to fix, quote, his lightsaber at any point, or make another lightsaber at any point, or will he always and forever use this Darth Vader crystal lightsaber until
I don't know.
dies trying?
I don't know. Does it die trying, or does it get destroyed somehow?
I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting if he had to make another lightsaber and there's like a perfected cross-guard lightsaber at some point.
In like 9, maybe?
Yeah, there's like a...
That would be sweet.
But it would not look as cool without the fizzledy pops.
Maybe. I think it would be cool to introduce a new, like...
Another one?
What's the word? Like a streamlined Kylo Ren
Like
in episode 9.
A clean Kylo?
Well, like a, confident, super evil
Just like
Kylo
a
Ren.
Super dark.
In 9, yeah. I think that'd be a cool idea.
That'd be really cool, yeah.
Who knows if it'll happen, but...
I don't know. It was just it was just a cool theory as far as the lightsaber goes. Like, were the cross guards by choice, or did it have to be because of the power things? Or was
I like the idea that it's
mix of the two?
practical.
Yeah,
it's
like,
very practical.
Hey, I finally figured it out. That's what turned him to the dark side. He was like, Uncle Luke, look what I... No, that we're not doing that. Fine. I'll take it to someone who cares.
That loses their hands with pride. You will lose your hands like a true Skywalker.
And that's why he ran to Snoke.
Except he's not a Skywalker.
Yeah. I mean, half.
Skywalker bloods.
What's that?
Huh?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nope, that's it. The end.
What's his now?
We're good. We're
Okay.
good. Got a little bit left. So there's a rumor of the title of episode 8 not going to be for a while, most likely. Daisy Ridley,
the Daisy Ridley.
Yeah,
rumor.
Daisy Ridley said that she had heard a title very early on, but she wasn't sure if it was going to be that. Otherwise, she hadn't really heard anything. She said she heard it a very long time ago, like before they started filming. So it may be that or may be different. So at this point, even the actors, at least as far as they're saying, there's no confirmed title for episode 8.
Right.
Which I would assume...
Well, first of all, duh, no one's going to talk about that title before they...
No. I would assume that
officially
it
release
would be
it.
a Star Wars Celebration next year. We would get a title, right?
Yeah, the Orlando one, right? Yeah.
That's April.
Yeah.
Is that too early to get a title for episode 8?
No. Because then you've got...
A poster and a title, maybe?
I mean, when did we get Rogue One? I feel like the Rogue One title was released way before.
No one cares as much about Rogue One as the episodes, though.
But that's my point, is that when did we get the Force Awakens title then?
I guess, yeah, there was a...
It was a while.
That exclusive poster was the first release poster, and that was a Celebration, wasn't it?
Was it Celebration, or was it...
Like, by the original, poster artist?
Wasn't it the Disney convention?
Oh, was it it was D23, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Because Celebration was after...
Yeah, I think so.
Well, yeah, because the only Celebration in that time period was Europe, right? Which just happened a few months ago.
So, yeah, I
Right?
hope we will get a title.
Hold on, am I wrong?
Probably. I hope we'll get the title by Celebration.
There was a
in April.
Celebration a couple years ago before Force Awakens was
The fact that
released,
Celebration is in our town and we can go to it, I really hope the title is revealed there and we don't have to wait.
It's gotta
just
be, right?
Oh, it's a Tuesday. Here's the title. That would really suck if it wasn't.
You know, it'd be really
Celebration.
sweet is if we got some kind of teaser footage and the title. That would be incredible.
Just a teaser. Anything.
Because they're done with
Not a behind the scenes teaser like they've given for every film before. Just like, oh, here's some stuff we shot.
I mean, they're done.
B-roll.
They're done with principal photography,
Yeah,
right?
they're in editing right now. They've been editing for like a month or something.
So I don't see any reason why we wouldn't get footage.
Yeah,
Maybe even before.
that would be cool.
Some kind of teaser before, maybe for Christmas. I don't know.
I think we talked about this the other day, not in the podcast, but maybe it was because all of this runs together. But I think we talked about this last episode. Would there be a teaser for episode 8 before Rogue One or with Rogue One in theaters?
Oh yeah, and I was saying I don't think that's going to
I
happen.
don't think so. Still don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Just Celebration.
Just based
If
on the
anything,
fact
Celebration.
that any other franchise like that, no other franchise does that. Teasers for another movie in the franchise before this movie.
I guess.
I've never seen that before.
I don't know.
Did you ever see a Jaws 3D teaser before
I was not old
Jaws
enough to
4
see that in
or whatever it
theaters.
was, or Jaws 2? I don't know what was out there.
I don't
know.
I don't think I was allowed to go to those movies because I was,
I don't know why Jaws was the
In a
first
crib.
thing I thought of.
the other franchise. Jaws.
I have no idea.
Thanks for that. All right. You good? You good?
In what sense?
Never mind. I think that's about everything we have. I As always, follow us on Twitter at Hokey_religion.
Did you want to talk about Rebels season 3?
Nah, we'll talk about it next time because it's happening.
Yeah, I'll mention it real quick.
No.
We've got the premiere is going to be an hour long. It's going to be
Yes.
2 episodes.
Yes.
The first episode is called Steps into Shadow, and it's with that Force Beast that we saw in the teaser.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The Bendu, it's called. And Thrawn will be a focus
Yes.
in one of those 2 episodes.
Yay,
or
Thrawn,
both.
finally.
So,
I can't wait.
and then that premieres.
They recently had another
something-
Thrawn teaser, which
September.
looked awesome. So
That premieres in a couple weeks, September 24th.
yes, it does.
So
That'll be awesome.
That's all I have to say about that.
Thank
I will probably begrudgingly watch it.
Yeah, me too. I'll be here. I'll be in this country when that comes out.
Okay.
I will watch it. As always, follow us on Twitter at Hokey_religion. Everyone tweet to the person that owns at Hokey Religion and tell them to leave forever so that we can have it.
Have we tried tweeting to that person? No.
I don't want to be involved. Everyone else should do that for me. I don't want to get my hands dirty. As always, you can email us at asklobot@hokeyreligion.com. Send your questions, comments.
Which no one does.
Silly pictures. Anything. Talk to me, please.
Talk to us.
You can always find us on Facebook and YouTube as well. And we actually are going to start a new thing with Patreon. Patreon.com /
We don't know if this is a good idea. This is probably a bad
Probably
idea.
probably not a good idea. Patreon.com / Hokey Religion. If you enjoy us and want to support us, awesome. Go to that website and you can support us monetarily to help us make this a better show. If you enjoy us and don't want to support us, go to the website and give us money to help us make a better show. If you hate us and don't want to support us, go to the website and give us money to make a better show. If you want to give us money, then we'll totally take it.
Actually,
and
that's a good point.
Put
If
it
you-
towards the show to make it better. If you don't want to give us money for anything, if you enjoy us and just don't have the money, it doesn't matter. If you feel like supporting us, then you can go there and support us. It's a super awesome thing to support, artists and media outlets that you enjoy, and it's kind of like Kickstarter, but for like podcasters and artists and webcomics and things like that.
Right. We would not be in the artist category. We would be in the dumb shits category.
There's a specific drop down just for us.
Dumb shits.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though. If you hate us enough, go to Patreon, donate an insane amount of money, and we will actually stop making this show.
I will make
And just take your money.
a $1,000 goal, and if we reach that, we'll never make another episode.
So that's a good motivator. If you really hate us, go and give us an insane amount of money to stop putting these episodes out, and we will. Like a
lot of podcasts do it, and we don't expect anything to come of it, and we really wouldn't know why anyone would ever want to even give us $1 for anything. But if you enjoy us and that's something you'd like to do, then by all means, it's there.
And
Go for it.
we both thought about what goals to do for that, and there are some pretty good ones on there that I think are really worth donating if you have like $1 that you could spare.
Yeah, it's like a monthly thing. You can give as much as $1 to however much over
Right.
that. So if you have $1 a month and you feel like throwing it our way to help
Right.
us make a better show, then that money's going to go towards the show, not towards like our lunch tomorrow. we promise that it's only going to be funneled into the show.
And Tyler knows my feelings on this just stuff in general.
Michael hates
and I will
business.
say, yes.
Tyler is in charge of the promotion and the business side of things. I try not to involve him and let him just be the talent.
Which is obvious for me trolling our people who respond to us on Twitter.
Thank you so much for rejecting our conversations to people.
Considering
that
my
might be
feelings
listeners.
about all of that stuff, this is obviously a completely just completely nice to have sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
It
if
exists, it's there.
if
If you
you
want to
donate-
support us, go for it. If you don't, we don't. Whatever.
if you end up donating us $1, like that is just icing on the cake for what we get to do. It's not like this is not something we expect you guys to do.
No.
But like you were saying, it's going to go straight towards the show, and we can
Yeah, we can't.
use it to help make better things.
We have families and our budgets. Our wives probably don't want us spending $100 on new equipment, so sometimes we can't do that.
New equipment, weekly episodes. I mean, we've got a ton of stuff up there.
there's so everyone go to
A
Patreon.
chair that doesn't do this.
Patreon.com
Wait, listen.
/ Hokey Religion. Other than that, that's everything for this week. This
Wait,
is Tyler.
Hold on.
Oh,
Wait,
and
listen
this
to
is
my-
Squeaky
hold on,
Michael.
wait, hold on.
Oh, we got to take
Stupid
the goal
chair.
off. No new chair.
Oh no, it's not. Oh no,
Michael can't make his.
I
chair
can't make my chair
squeak
squeak anymore.
It's a miracle.
At the end of the episode and no squeaky chair. This is insane.
Cancel the episode. We're done. This is Tyler.
Bye. Oh, I'm Michael. Bye.
Hokey Religion is an ancient weapon. Hokey Religion is an ancient weapon. There's no magic for a good blaster, true side.